Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you are brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another apartment renovation. And today we are renovating oh gosh, is this the Hakeem House apartment? It probably isn't, but the address is in the top left-hand side of the screen if you guys are curious as to where to place this apartment. But I wanted to build an apartment that was for a really big family. So this is for 8 Sims. I think this might be called like 8 Sim apartment, I don't really know, but this is the first time that I have tried to get a full household into an apartment. So there are 6 children, or a combination of like children and teens, I'm not really sure, but there are basically 6 kids in this family and the 2 parents. So the apartment is very squished, it's very cramped, and the floor plan was super hard to actually manage because basically the living room and the kitchen are super small, and I almost actually put the living room in a different spot. It ends up being right here in the entryway, but I just thought that walking into the living room felt a lot more logical than walking into the kitchen, if that makes sense. The other thing that I wanted to make sure that I could do was add at least 2 toilets. So there's only 1 full bathroom, which is awful for 8 Sims. But there are at least 2 toilets, so there is a half bath, which is why the living room is so small in the first place. But at least, at the very, very least, there are the 2 toilets, because I could imagine with 6 kids trying to get them all out the door for like school and stuff like that, it would be chaotic. You would have to come up with like a showering schedule so everyone was like clean and ready to go. It would be an absolute nightmare, but I thought this would be a nice challenge because I have been asked before to do a kind of like small-ish apartment for a really large family. And this unit here, this was the only one that I, wanted to build in, because I can't lie to you, the medium wall height is something that I really don't like, and I don't like building in a lot of the apartments in MyShuno for that very reason. But this one was always appealing to me. I always really enjoyed this apartment. However, the windows are what really threw me, because there were only so many floor plans I could come up with that I felt would work with the amount of bedrooms that I wanted to actually cram in here, and actually just having separated spaces, because trying to have maybe a combined kitchen and living room was feasible, but I kind of think it's almost a bit of a luxury to have them separated. I don't know if that translates, if that really makes sense, but that's kind of how I see it, is if you can have them as separate rooms in a smaller space, it's a luxury, whereas if you had, like a bigger house, having an open floor plan like that would be very intentional. Does that make any sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of what I was thinking. So we are working on the kitchen now. There's only 1 countertop for your Sims to work on, and there is a very small dining table with only 3 seats. So there is no way that you can get the whole family to sit down for a meal together in the kitchen. They'd probably end up dispersing into the living room and watching TV on the couch, which there are 2 couches. You can fit up to 6 Sims on the couches to watch TV. So no matter what, this is going to be hard to play with 8 Sims, but it's still functional and it does work for that large of a family, if that's what you wanted to do. But this is pretty much wrapping up the kitchen. I didn't really have a lot of room to put a lot of decorations, but I did use this very tiny dining table from Eco Lifestyle, as well as these chairs from the Paranormal Stuff pack, which I thought looked really cute together. I also felt really weird putting the fridge on an entirely different wall from the countertops, because I always see fridges as being not literally built into countertops, but they just feel like part of the layout. So putting it off to the side was kind of awkward, but it was the only logical place I could think of putting it, because I didn't want, for example, the stove to be off on its own. That drives me insane. So as many of you probably know at this point, my husband and I are in the midst of the house hunting process, and I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but where we are, it is freaking insane. Like, houses are going for 40 to 50K over asking price, and you basically have to waive inspections, appraisal waivers. Like, it is absolute insanity. Like, it's basically impossible to get a house for a reasonable price unless you're offering like $500,000 in cash. So we're just gonna put that out there. It's disgusting. I am not enjoying myself. But what brought me to this point is the fact that we've seen so many houses where the kitchen layouts are so weird. Like, the stove is off on its own on a wall separate from the rest of the kitchen. There was one house that we looked at where it was literally like 10 feet away from all the countertops and the rest of the kitchen. And I was like, who the heck decided to do that? Like, why was that the choice? Like, it hurts my brain. And I know that some older houses, you kind of have to make those weird design choices because older houses are shaped differently. They weren't planned out for maybe larger appliances or certain kinds of appliances. So that kind of makes sense. But it's been very weird. We've seen some very interesting houses in the midst of our search, but hopefully if you were in the same boat, you were having better luck than we are. I will wish you the best of luck because it is nuts. But anyway, we are working on the parents' bedroom now. So their bedroom is long and odd, but I'm so thrilled that I was able to fit a double bed in here because I was worried it was going to cut into one of the kids' rooms. And as you can see, I utilized the bunk beds in every single room. That is what I did because for me, that was the only way that I could make a comfortable, personalized kids' room that offered more than just a place to sleep. Do you know what I mean? I wanted there to be some activities or personalization, just something. And I knew that if I didn't use the bunk beds in at least most of the rooms, I suppose like one or two of them, I probably could have gotten away with 2 single beds or something. And if I had made any toddler rooms, I would have had a lot more space to play around with, but I thought it would be a challenge to try to have like child or teenage Sims in here alongside their parents. So this is one of the first bedrooms that we work on. It has a very dark color scheme. I was thinking that these 2 children are really into like space and video games and monster movies and stuff. I don't know, they just really love high volume, like packed action movies or something. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I just think they're really into all of that stuff. And even though I personally don't like black furniture, it's not my design style. I like lighter furniture because I feel like it makes a room look a little bit bigger. I thought that all of the dark furniture pieces here in this room actually looked really nice together. It looked really soft and it did make the space feel a bit smaller, but then again, these rooms are all very small anyway, so it's not really like an illusion. It's a small freaking room. And I just added a bunch of clutter here, some posters, a mirror, this little side table, but there are at least 2 of those little skinny wardrobes from Tiny Living, as well as a desk for them to like do their homework or write in their journals and stuff. And I thought that that was kind of enough. In one of the other kids' rooms as well, there is a creativity table, which I thought was great. And that might be the only true kids activity, which is unfortunate now that I think about it. I probably could have tried to get like one of the chemistry stations in, maybe placed a violin, which I always forget. Wow, I always forget about the violin. I think I always forget about it because it doesn't seem like a designated kids activity. Does that make sense? Like drawing and coloring and doodling and making like macaroni art is definitely a kids activity. And even the chemistry station, I don't know why, I like solely see that as a kids activity, even though if you're thinking about like experimenting with things and whatnot, you probably wouldn't want your kid just kind of playing around with that, especially unsupervised. I don't know. I always forget about the violin, but now we are working on the next kids room. So this is a very light and airy kids room. We end up changing up the colors a little bit just because I wasn't really liking how it was looking all together. We end up going with more of like a pink, purple, and light pastel blue color scheme. Because right here, I was just like, I'm not finding a swatch of these bunk beds that are like the base game bunk beds. Well, I mean, they're all base game, but you know what I mean? They were part of like base game. They were made from the base game swatches and stuff that we had. And these were the Parenthood ones at one point. So anyway, they just really weren't working at all. So we just went with the pure white bunk beds here. And then we just added all of these purple accents. And I thought it was really adorable. It's not as cluttered as the other room that we just finished, but I still think that I utilized the space in a good way because there are a few activities and toys. I think there's even a little teddy bear like doctor set as well. So there are actually 2 kid activities in here, which is more than I was anticipating. I kind of forgot that I did that, as well as having their own wardrobe and that big stuffed unicorn, which I think I just toss in a different area in the room because I do just move things around to see what was going to really just fit best because it was a little bit tough. These rooms were small and I didn't want them to be just a place to sleep like I mentioned. So there is an armchair in the corner here, and then I just add a few different pieces of artwork to fill up the space. And I'm always so tempted, I've mentioned this so many times, but when I'm working with like a medium or tall wall height, which tall wall heights get me out of there. I can't deal with them. I always end up trying to like decorate all the way to the ceiling because, you know, for example, this wallpaper, the trim is all the way at the top and I'm just like, I must fill in all of this blank white space. And I really don't have to do that. And sometimes I really have to stop myself because it'll just look unnatural and weird. And even here, I was a little bit skeptical on how many decorations I wanted to put around the bunk beds, but I end up going pretty minimal. I remove a few things, I think, off camera, but for the most part, it came together okay. And then in this one here, This is a bit more of a mature bedroom. The other two are very youthful. I think for this one, I was imagining the potential of 2 teenagers. Now, I'm not sure what their specific interests are per se, but it just seemed like a more mature room, and I don't know how else to say that or get that across. It just wasn't as childlike, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I was just trying to diversify the rooms so they didn't all feel super repetitive or anything like that. But we went with red, white, and blue, which I don't know how we even ended up there. I think it was really just because there were no wallpapers that I thought balanced out the vibrant red swatch of this bed, and I was like, you know what, we're just going for it. Red, white, and blue, I guess. Here we are. But they have a wardrobe, a desk, they also have a bookshelf, and I think like an armchair, and then that is actually almost pretty much it for the apartment renovation. So I hope you guys did enjoy this one. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!
Like the ocean, love you in slow motion, anything it takes to make you stay, but I can't rely on you, doesn't matter what I do. You say you need a time, I think you mean a buyout, cause it's pretty clear you're on your way out. And though I understand it's hard sometimes to make up your mind in these trying times, yeah, I just can't accept you leaving me when I'm overseas with the heart so heavy. Think that I deserve the truth for once, not a guilty tone, cause you're not alone, yeah. You said you wanna come home, but I know you don't. So this time I won't hear it on the phone. If you got something to say,